Good evening, and welcome to Law Talk, the show that brings the news, the Constitution, and the law to you each month. Tonight, with Mark Malachowski, I'm James Barrett. Mark, what subjects are we covering tonight?
Well, first we're going to talk about the IRS. Now, some folks are complaining or claiming that the IRS was unfairly targeting Tea Party groups by slowing down or denying them their tax-exempt status for 501(c)s.
Okay, and when you say denying them their status, because there is a normal process where you have to go through and you have to apply to your IRS, because these are when you say tax exempt, they're allegedly nonprofit and non-political. Is that the idea?
Well, what happens is the wording's a little vague, but generally what it's come down in practice is as long as they're 50% non-political for some kind of social welfare, they can do some political activity. And so that's kind of how it's been interpreted up till now. But since 2010, a lot of these groups have been, and maybe a little bit before that, have been applying for their status, and they haven't been denied or accepted. And usually this thing takes 3 or 6 months to sort out at the longest. Some of them are a few weeks, but some of these have been going on for more than years.
Okay, from what I've been understanding in the news, what's happened is that because of the qualification process, normally you just submit your articles, you submit, who are the shareholders, the members, but you don't have to answer a lot of new questions. And I understand the scrutiny that the IRS put on these was pretty extreme. Now, did they target any specific group?
Well, the thing about this is kind of like disparate impact, right, analysis. Now, it seems like maybe 300 to 500 of these conservative groups were targeted, and possibly one liberal group was targeted. Now, that might be a coincidence, it might not. But what happened here is that they were asked all kinds of questions, including who their donors were. And one of these things about those 501(c)s is you don't have to disclose who your donors are.
So, in fact, if you're asking who those donors are, you're effectively violating the idea of what this is all about, why this nonprofit came to existence anyway, isn't it?
Well, the group would be in the bad position of they're promising their donors they won't disclose who they are. And if they disclose that, then they'd be breaking their contract with their donors.
Well, I also understand that it went beyond just asking who the donors were. I understand in some cases, at least from the testimony that I watched at Congress, was they were actually asking much more than that. They were asking the content of the prayers that were read at their meetings. They were asking, what is the content of what you teach the children in your schools? And what are your actual political motives for establishing this corporation, this nonprofit? And so, is there any one side of the political scale they were actually targeting?
Well, it looks like it was 300 to 500 conservative. Well, they had some keywords they were going after: patriot, Tea Party, anything that was concerned about government spending or taxes, and someone who improving America. So those are some keywords they were looking for.
Well, who instigated this targeting?
Well, the thing about it is, nobody.
Nobody.
It just happened spontaneously.
It was spontaneous?
Yeah, what happened?
Like a spontaneous
yeah, there was like some IRS agents out for a walk, and they just decided, let's target some Tea Party groups. It was completely spontaneous.
Well, do you realize?
Or it might have been because of the YouTube video.
Oh, the YouTube video?
It might have been because of the YouTube. It's probably but more likely it's Bush's fault. It's probably Bush.
Yeah, President Bush.
Probably Bush.
I guess in 2010 it was still all his fault. But anyway,
yeah, it was Bush's fault.
What I understand was that this goes back primarily starting in 2010 after the election, when the Tea Party
after the midterms, right?
Where the Tea Parties played such a crucial role in ensuring that there was many Tea Party candidates that who were seeking election actually got elected.
Well, the one way you could look at it, in 2008 to 2010, we covered Ted Stevens and how he was framed and later on died, had a mysterious death, and so that made the filibuster-proof Senate.
Correct. The 60 votes needed for Obamacare.
And then you also had the House controlled by one party, and the presidency controlled. So basically, at that time, President Obama
had it made.
Well, he's the most powerful man on the planet, probably the planet's ever seen. And then after the 2010 elections, he got trounced in those elections.
Well, he lost his vast majority in the Senate,
right.
And he also lost the Congress, which went both Democratic. It came to the point where now in the Senate, you cannot pass a bill because there's too many Republicans if it's a Democratic bill, so and so. Or
but I mean, anyway, he got trounced in that
Okay,
election.
so why don't we look at that as a kind of as a backdrop here? Now, after 210, the IRS mysteriously starts targeting these Tea Party groups that are seeking to grow the grassroots of the political campaign to ensure that the 212 election goes to more Tea Party candidates. So what actually happened?
Well, see, nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
Nobody knows how, like, say, for instance, how the IRS or how, I'm trying to think of the lady's name who's in charge of the IRS union. Let's see.
Well, Lerner was in charge of the...
No, the National Treasury Employees Union is controlled by Colleen Kelly, right?
Right.
And she said, that these extreme Tea Party elements and, she didn't like them, and these IRS service centers had 48,000 union members of her union in there. And so she made some comments like that, and nobody knows how she got those ideas, right? But there were some kind of coincidences.
Well, I understand that there was 2 rogue agents in Cincinnati that worked in a small little district office that were the center of this entire targeting. Is that true?
Well, either that or it was the video.
Oh,
the guy in it was probably the video. It's usually the video.
But where's the guy that made that video?
Yeah, he's in prison now. So, but I mean, it kind of harks back if you look at historically. If you look back a couple thousand years, there was an Emperor Caligula.
Yes, I remember he's been well known in the history.
And one of the rumors about Caligula is that he, when his uncle, or his great uncle, Tiberius, was ill on his deathbed, Caligula took the imperial ring off his finger, put it on his finger, and went out to the balcony and proclaimed to the crowd that I'm the new emperor. And then word got out a little later that his uncle was starting to recover. One of the imperial guards smothered his uncle with a pillow.
There's no truth to that rumor. That's don't look. We got to move on. There's nothing here
to
see.
But nobody knows if Caligula really ordered his imperial guards to do it or if they just did it spontaneously. But there was some feeling that he might have given them a hint. Possibly.
Well, then I have a question. What is that? How does that relate to where we are today with the IRS?
Well, here you got someone who's the most powerful person in the world.
Right.
And all of a sudden in 210, it looks like they might be taking this imperial ring away.
You got some problems in that ring.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so maybe he gave, well, they've got some acting commissioners of the IRS now, right?
Oh, I understand. What you're saying is, although he may not have ordered something to happen, by accident it happened.
Well, no, I'm not. Okay.
Is that what you're trying to draw back to?
Right now we have a bunch of IRS commissioners, right?
Right.
And they're acting commissioners.
They're all acting.
You know why they're called acting commissioners?
Because they're all taking the fifth?
No, because they all have to act like that White House had nothing to do with the IRS scandal.
Oh, that's right. It's they go to the Actors Guild for those commissioners.
So Obama might have dropped a couple really vague hints that he wanted this done. For example, in August 9th, 2010, he said, right now, all around this country, there are groups with harmless-sounding names, like Americans for Prosperity, which are the Koch brothers, right? Which are arch enemies of the Obama administration. Yes. You don't know if it's a foreign-controlled corporation.
Right.
So basically, a foreign-controlled corporation trying to influence U.S. politics.
Influence U.S. politics?
That's basically...
That sounds so bad.
It's like treason. They're traitor. You know, these guys are foreign influences are taking over the country.
That is treasonous.
So, and then August 21st, 2010, President Obama said, we do not know who's paying them. You don't know if it's a foreign-controlled corporation.
Right.
About these, 501Cs.
Right.
And then on September 16, 2010, he said, well, they're foreign-controlled entities, and millions of dollars of attack ads are coming from here. On September 28, 2010, President Obama says they're posing as nonprofit groups. On October 14, 2010, he says, behind these front groups, who knows who's behind these front groups, and they're a threat to democracy. Well, so those little hints may have found their way to people who, and obviously the IRS is pretty...
You're talking about those little hints may have found their way to IRS agents in charge of monitoring the 503 nonprofits, corporations. That
might have found their way to Colleen Kelly, who runs these unions, who's already bragging that they got 48,000 of their union members in each of one of these IRS stations.
Okay. I can tell you right now, Mark, we're heading to a large deal with, and we're going to cover that in our next show.